He has led successful anti-terrorist and anti-extremist operation and has been instrumental in managing conflicts and training initiative. I request Dr. Gursharan Dhanjal, Vice Chairman SKOCH, also to be on the stage and moderate this session. Last but not the least, I invite Dr. Mangesh Manohar Gondavale, Managing Director, Maharashtra Agro Industries Development Corporation Limited, to kindly join us on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he was earlier Joint Managing Director of MSCDCL. As CEO of Zilla Parishad Aurangabad, he managed the COVID-19 crisis and led the grassland ecosystem management project, shortlisted for the Arun Pongirwar Public Services Excellence Award, and he played a key role in Maharashtra GST implementation and has represented India internationally on taxation.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Another very important point of discussion for India, where we are today, is about the economic markers. Now, these are not just markers on the blackboard. This is about how do we actually assess the development, how do we actually assess the progress that has been made across various indicators, how do we measure it, and how do we further improve it. So a very important element of this is that when we talk about economic markers and development dashboards, these two appear to be totally de-linked, but otherwise at the bottom, these are linked together. These provide data and feedback. So what we understand in the form of data, we put it on the dashboard. And dashboard is something which is visible to all the stakeholders. So it measures the growth and the progress. It plays a very important driving role in the economic development and provides for a real-time insight, facilitates informed decision making, and fosters collaboration. This is one part of the element which is what we generally ignore. We are aware of it, but we don't really recognize it because our focus entirely has always been on implementation and pushing the agenda from point A to point B. In the process, we lose sight of taking cognizance of these markers and these indicators. So, policy making is something which actually depends on the feedback. The feedback from all these stakeholder communities, including the ones which are receiving it, and in our country, largest is either business or citizens. So, statistics do really speak for themselves, but generally data is cold. Till such time you analyze it, till such time you actually say that as you know what it actually means for everyone. And it allows users to follow key macro developments and track economic trends. GDP is an important economic marker. Unemployment, or we call employment, inflation, interest rates, and poverty. These are essentially the areas in which all of us focus on. When we talk about development, these are the indicators which go on the dashboard. Captures economic indicators, which is a sum total of these four things I just talked about. Then it also includes the social indicators, which is health outcomes, education, and life expectancy. Environmental indicators, we are very much aware of our responsibility towards the climate, towards the environment. So these become very important when we say that there is accessibility of water and there is sustainable practices which are adopted. Government having to adopt sustainable practices was something which we never talked about a few years ago. It has become now integral part of important policy and decision making. And of course, there are governance indicators, which includes rule of law, political stability, and of course, corruption. So how are these two related? It provides data, it provides policy insights, it also allows us to do holistic development analytics and analysis. It allows us to do monitoring on a very, very close quarters, and it helps us to gauge the trend. So all these things put together is equals to improvement in the development indicators. Where does it lie? It lies essentially in the economic realm and ultimately visible to everyone, all the stakeholders, when we say in the form of a development dashboard. So in fact, a lot of discussion that we had with each of the stakeholder, each of our distinguished panelists on the dais, that how is it that we relate these two? So it becomes very important that it actually dissociates myself from the domain I come from. It associates myself to an area in which we work. So yesterday I worked in rural development, tomorrow I work in labor, and day after I work in environment. But these markers, the measurement, as well as the dashboards, these don't change. Therefore, it's important that we look at that how is it that at each and every single layer, at each and every state, how are we measuring these indicators? To start with, let me start from our panelist right at the other end. So how are we measuring these indicators at the state levels? That's my first question.
Feel proud that SKOCH has given me this last session of discussion as a panelist. So thank you so much. So the question of Vice President SKOCH was that the indicators, what we have to measure when we are working in different sectors, the indicators are different. For example, I am from administrative service. I work so many departments, and many departments has got their own indicators to show their actions, show their results, and their achievements. But one thing is common for all departments, that development indicators. The development includes inclusive development. What previous panelist also explained, the sparse development, spectacle development, social development is the need of the hour for India to be third largest economy in 2024. Still now, many people, 70%, 60 to 70% of people does not know what is development. What is development? They only living for bread and butter. And there are also caste-based distinguished in the society, and many loyalist people.
But sir, government does know what is development. People may not know. So whatever we do as government, is the delivery, right? So they are at the receiving end. So what should we measure at the state level when we say that these are the indicators? How do we look at that?
Yes, government knows very well, and government is also trying. It is a continuous process continuous process of execution of various projects for development of people. But really, it is lack of education from all sectors. It is prime factor that why people do not know what is development. So it needs to be addressed both from government level and at private sector.
Mr. Ojha.
I'm not from administrative service. I am an IPS officer. I'm heading prisons and correctional services in Himachal Pradesh. We have got 14 jails. But what it reflects, the prison is reflection of the society. Basically, what kind of people are coming to the prison. So you will see the markers which I can see is that the convicts are about the strength of the entire prison inmates in the state is about 3,000. And roughly 900 to 1,000 is the other convicts, and about 2,000 are the under trials. So you see, and the cases which are increasing rapidly are the NDPS cases, the drug cases. So drug cases, why the people are going into drug trade, drug peddling or drug smuggling? Because they want to make money. So these are the poor people who want to make quick buck and at a faster rate. That is one indicator which needs to be addressed at the society level and by the government at the policy level. Second is the kind of people who are coming, what kind of economic background do they have? So most of these people I analyzed, they come from below poverty line or slightly above poverty line. The rich people are very few. The rich are very few. This could be an indication as to what kind of law do we have and how the law is going towards which, and how do we need to address the implementation of that law. So maybe then the influential people and the rich people are getting away. I know, it's maybe. The other indicators which you can find in the prison, if you talk to them, you see, for example, in the drug-related cases, the guys who are the smugglers, I mean, I don't know, they have been convicted, and the story they say may not be all reliable because they are convicts. But they say, I was the taxi driver, I was actually not smuggling the drug, but somebody else was there, but he got away, for whatever reasons. So these are some of the indicators. Now we have technology coming in. We have technology, for example, we have e-prisons, we have ICGS, e-courts, both are linked. The court can monitor. And in the prison Human Rights Commission is there to look after. The legal authorities are there who visit and supervise. The session courts supervise, directly supervise. They can come and raid and see what all is going on. So we have brought in technology. We have body-worn cameras, we have CCTVs, but they are not AI monitored. We need to have that, but because of lack of funds, we don't have. Then we have detectors, non-junction linear detectors, which detect the telephones if they are smuggled into the prisons. So these kind of technologies, we have scanners, we have other technology, CCTV cameras all around the premises to take care of the inmates. The vacancies are there, and we use technology to buttress the strength that we have. So in a way, things are changing, and things are changing for better, but there is still a long way to go. Then the work we do with regard to correctional services is quite extensive. We have brought in, we have set up a NGO, Himkara Unnati Samiti, and whatever vocational activities are undertaken and whatever money is paid, part of it goes to the welfare fund, and for the prison welfare, we use that money to generate, to do welfare activities for the prisoners. We have e-mulakat, we have e-bail, We have e-remand now, but it's not to the extent that is required. Some of the courts are reluctant to, in fact, the Supreme Court has given the judgment that all bails should be heard on video conference, but it is not being done. So there's a huge amount of manpower that is being wasted, and also security risks are there when a prisoner is taken to the court from the jail and then brought back again.
So, Mr. Ojha, actually, you are taking the discussion from one
One
end.
into the, yes.
Yeah.
Some of these markers
so
are
these are essentially
markers,
covered.
these are
Exactly.
markers, yes.
So you made a good point that there are various facets to it.
Yes.
And these are all
And
being brought onto the same platform wherein you
dashboard
are
is
able
there,
to
and
monitor
you can-
it as to
yes.
whatever is
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Good point made. Sidhu Saab.
See, all these markers that we are talking, these are household talks these days. Wherever we sit, we talk about GDP, we talk about inflation, we talk about all other things, we talk about unemployment. The issue here is that how reliable is the data and how adequate is the data from which these markers are actually drawn. If the data is relevant, if the data is adequate, then these markers actually show us the mirror that where we stand and what we should be doing. I would just like to highlight one. We talk about unemployment rate. So unemployment rate is actually only calculated on the basis of 4 lakh families, households, which are studied, and a sample is drawn. That sample is studied, and on the basis of that sample, we actually draw and say that this is the unemployment we have. Then in the agriculture sector, people who are involved in agriculture, they actually, you can't actually make out whether these people are actually employed or unemployed. When are they employed? When are they unemployed? So all these things we don't take into account. Third thing which I think we don't take into account is the wages. Till we pay our people well, till we pay the wages well, till the downtrodden get enough money to run their households and to take their children to good schools or upgrade our schools or pay well for their education, for their health, or provide better health services to our downtrodden. Till then, we can't say that these markers can actually give us social welfare. So these are the things I think we should all look into. Adequacy of data is the most important thing. And before we publish anything, before we bring out anything, we must ensure that data is substantial, it is collected wide and vast, and then on the basis of that data, we should draw inferences. Those inferences then should go into policy making, and once we make policies on the basis of this relevant data and information, we talk about dashboard. Dashboard can't be helpful till the back end is all good. So make the back end good, collect the right data, and then go ahead. I am from the Labour Department, Punjab. So I'll tell you that we have workforce all across, working in different fields. But we have segregated them also. We say these people work in organized sector, these people work in unorganized sector. So we are actually, in Punjab, we are tapping the organized sector. We have a welfare board for the organized sector. Then we have a building and other construction workers board. So all those workers who are employed in the work of building and other construction work, they get welfare schemes from BOCW. And then we now start talking about gig workers, platform workers. Then we say workers who work, who are informally employed, like household help and this, that, and all. So till we actually map the entire workforce that is working with their hands anywhere, till then we can't actually make proper policies. Till then we can't know who is employed, who is not employed, who's paid well or who's not paid well. And are we really, reaching that aspect of social development where we want to actually reach? So I have been giving this recommending to the Labour Department, Government of India also. I've talked to Secretary Labour, we were there, we had a conference of all the Labour secretaries. There also I said the same thing, that let's first tap all the workforce in India, they may be working in organized sector, unorganized sector, or anywhere. Anybody who works with his own hands, does physical labor, should be tapped. We have such a nice thing in Aadhaar that we can actually identify each and every person. We can then actually, keep a track of their employment. Now, today a person can be a gig worker, tomorrow he will be a BOCW worker, third day he may be working in an organized sector, fourth day he may be an informal worker, fifth day he may be doing his own work somewhere. So all those people who do manual work, and especially in India, should all be, we should have a database of them. And from that database, we should track what kind of employment they are in. And on the basis of that employment, then we should, talk about these markers. And on the basis of these markers, and on the basis of the wages that we pay to them, then we should talk about social development. And then correlate all these markers with social development. That is, then only we can actually achieve the benefits of, mapping these social markers that we discuss. I think this is
Point very well made. I'll come back to you because this is just the opening of the discussion. And here also your neighbor and otherwise also Haryana and Punjab have been neighbors there. So Mr. Ranjan, I'm sure your experience is not going to be much different. But in terms of the adequacy and the reliability of the available data, which Ms. Sidhu is talking about, and also whom to consider employed is a big question mark. Mr. Dhanjal.
Dear friends, good evening. We are talking about economic indicators, economic markers. Traditional markers in any economy were GDP, unemployment rate, interest rate, that is there in the capital market or the money market, inflation, measured under various parameters, wholesale price index, consumer price index, various other type of indexes, balance of trade, retail sales, how the housing market and the construction market is performing, how our stock market is performing, and how our home sales are going on. But some of the indicators are leading indicators and some are lagging indicators. Leading indicators means before the event you get the idea that what is going to happen in a short term, 2 to 3 months. So these are the leading indicators. For example, in a stock market runs on the sentiment of the people. If sentiment is negative, then it will go down. If sentiment is positive, then it will go high. And it is very important to have a quick eye and real-time inputs on what is happening on all the leading indicators like consumer confidence, claims of joblessness. Unemployment is a different thing. Joblessness is another thing. In the job market, anyone who is employed also, he might also be looking for a better opportunity, or he might not be happy with the current employment. But unemployment, which he doesn't have any type of job at all, he is desperately looking for any job. Both are the different things. And for the lagging indicators, we came to know about our GDP, GNP, even consumer prices. They also comes after 2 and 3 months from the actual events that occur. Corporate profits, it needs time to calculate. And even in the other indicators like retail sales, we get the data after quite some times. Now, we are talking about dashboard, and technology has so much changed that at least in some field, we can do a real-time analysis and real-time data on whatever is happening. Here, I would like to introduce a new concept of micro indicators. These are all indicators all over the world, and they are used in a traditional manners, but nobody has used the micro indicators, which are the small inputs that will give you some type of tool to decide what could be our next set of policy to further steer our country on the path of the development. For example, let us see about the health. We have lot of the data. These data, sir, can be at the national level also, all the health indicators. It could be at the state level also, the district levels. In social sectors, all the data that comes from the district levels to the state level to the central level, we could have these indicators and these parameters in the all three levels everywhere. But going to the micro indicators, let us see. We have the indicator like how many births are there, how many deaths are there, how many diseases are there. If we could also have data like in surgery, how much of the surgery were correctly performed, how much surgeries were needed some further corrective actions, how many surgeries were totally botched up, how many cases people could not go for surgery because they do not have the economic means, they don't have the insurance, or they have some other issues. We need to further analyze in micro indicators that what is actually really happening, and if this information is available for us, then we can make the necessary policy corrections and steer our country to the path of development. Now, the big problem that is likely to come, that very few people would be willing to voluntarily and accurately share all these informations. Otherwise, everybody is fearful of government. They do not want to share anything which has an implication that some government regulator will come and they will harass and they will do all type of nuisance things. So, it is important that for all these macro indicators, all the information should be without any tagging of identifier like Aadhaar or mobile number or name or something. It should be anonymous. It should be collected only for the purpose of making the necessary corrections. Region will be there without naming the company, without naming the hospital, without naming the school, without naming any institution, without naming any industry. But we should have all the information so that in the real time we can make the corrective actions. And I can again say that some of the indicators are totally useless. Some people go for indicators like what is your index of religious freedom, freedom of speech. These are all subjective, totally. There is nothing objective there. One can say on the scale of 100 you are 71, another will say you are 29. Both are the polarly totally opposite things, but that is quite possible. In the job market also, yes, in the job market also you can say the person is employed or is partly employed. If he was fired, why he was fired. If he was fired, that whether he was replaced with another person or not, whether management is willing to impress it or not. So I would suggest that for a stock exchange and other related capital market related interest rate, TESLA indicators are correct and they should be followed. For all the social sectors, we need to have indicators at all district level, state level, at national levels. And for anonymous things, we should collect all the data for necessary policy indications at all the levels without any disclosure of any name and identity. If there are any further questions, I will be willing to answer that.
In fact,
Thank
you have preempted the next. Why don't you have a seat? Yeah, I'll come back to you.
Sure.
You have preempted my next two questions because it also talks about the quality and the quantity. But before that, let's ask Dr. Mangesh the same question as to, at the state level, from your perspective, because you come from the agro industry. Given your experience, what should be states measuring? What should be the indicators? You can take the other.
From a policymaker or from an administrator point of view, I look at the indicators from two aspects. One is the macro aspect and the other one is micro aspect. For example, when we say economy is growing or industry is growing, so whether every industry is growing, there are some industries which are growing and some industries which are not growing or which are in negative growth. But still industry is growing. Why it is so? Because the growing industry is growing at a higher speed than the industry which is not growing. So micro and macro, both aspects are very, very crucial from the administrator's point of view, because when you have to push, you have to identify that which industries are going, you have to do something different for them, and which industries which are not going, you have to do some different policy for them. So this is one aspect which I wanted to highlight. Second aspect is the objective at hand, that is also very, very important. For example, we just saw a clip of Gadkari ji during the break. So there it was shown that when he started, when he assumed the ministry, the speed of road building was 2 kilometers per day. So he took it as an indicator. That is the speed at which we are going. Now, what was his vision and where he wanted to reach? So slowly it began to increase. Then he targeted 50, then he targeted 100. So he took one indicator and then he improved upon that. So that is the second point which I wanted to make, that your objective or target, what it is. And third point is, when we want to analyze those indicators, you have to be very critical and objective. Because as sir has rightly said, every point you can see from two different angles, like glass is half empty or half full. So whenever you are analyzing, so for example, I am from agro industries. When we say that we need to increase production and productivity of the agricultural sector, and we say that we are not even 1/3 of productivity of China and half of Vietnam or Indonesia. But then whether that is sustainable. So other aspects also need to join. I mean, when we talk of indicators, you cannot have one indicator. You need to supplement with the other indicators also. So whenever you analyze, you have to keep in mind all these aspects, and these are very crucial for policy making. So these are the points I just wanted to make.
So in fact, if I move over to Mr. Agarwal, you have been very deep into the dashboarding, also at the same time measurement, as to what kind of development, what kind of penetration, what kind of investments, So this is a unique example of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, wherein you have everything, all the indicators, whether it is development or something which is not working, even to do with the capacity of the contractors who are coming into the fold. So how have you managed it, and what could be a learning from there for the others?
Yeah, very good evening to all, and good evening to all my esteemed panelists, and thanks to SKOCH for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talking to you. What you said, it's in we considered like you said, the dashboard. So I'll come to that first. The dashboard, for the PMGSY, as all of you know, that we constructed more than 750,000 kilometers of roads when it was launched in 2000, and various phases of the PMGSY we are executing, and we executed and now did 750,000 kilometers of roads. So as one of the speaker has talked about that the real-time updation. So this is what we do in PMGSY. So in PMGSY under Ministry of Rural Development, we are very transparent first of all. So we share all the data, that whether the road is in good condition, whether the maintenance is being done or not, which contractor is delaying, which district is delaying, which state is delaying, and the comparative performance of state on real-time dashboard. So that is a true, it's a dashboard which is updated every second actually. And we utilize all kind of IT system. And in PMGSY, actually, I can say it's a scheme which uses every aspect of the IT, be it anything. It uses every aspect of it, from the alert generation to the GIS, and now the Gati Shakti. So actually what I was targeting to speak, I'm an infrastructure person. I've been working in infrastructure, and when we talk about the infrastructure, it is the investment by the government. And now when we say it's an investment, it has to have an ROI. So many times I face the question from the finance ministry and other, that what is the ROI? Then I say it is infrastructure. So ROI will not be there in terms of the business sense, but it will be there in terms of socio-economic and livelihood changes. So now the biggest responsibility on such kind of infrastructure expenditure, which is huge actually. The government spends everything on infrastructure kind of thing. So everything it is infrastructure. But then issue is that where are we measuring it? So there the question of economic marker comes. In PMGSY, we have the dashboard which says about the execution efficiency. I am not satisfied with that. Because the point is, it should say about the socio-economic livelihood changes it is making. And why I am able to understand, because fortunately, when I was handling the PMGSY, then I was talking to many universities, and then I got encouraged to enroll me as a PhD scholar in development economics, though I am basically a civil engineer and I am an MBA. So in development economics, when I started working, then I realized that how the infrastructure and the socio-economic scenes merges together, and it is not only the engineering, even for the engineers or the bureaucrats. So when I'm doing the development economics and when I'm writing my research, where is the visible socio-economic and livelihood parameters, indicators which are changing after constructing 750,000 kilometers of roads? Now here the question comes, are we collecting the data? Like you said, for the employment and other thing, GDP, agriculture growth. So when some question comes to me, when my guide or some professor or some academician asks me, how the PMGSY in different districts and blocks have affected the agriculture productivity. Now when I am seeing the data, it's not there. So when I was wondering, like in the government sector, the government is mostly criticized for the delays in execution, because most of the time, all the government people are collecting data only. So like data means, when as an infrastructure person, if I am going to purchase a door, so then I'm asked, this door is available for how much cost in Himachal, in J&K, or in South or North. So we collect a lot of data. So there is no dearth of data, first of all. To the granularist level, at the village level, or at the block level. Only issue is that where are we compiling, how are we presenting, and we are in silos. I'll give one example very quickly if I have got the time. We were working, when we plan the rural roads, when we say 750,000 kilometers of rural roads, and each rural road is small in length, 3 to 4 kilometers. So see how many number of roads we are dealing, how many number of blocks and districts we are dealing. So the question comes, how to select the road which gives the maximum advantage to the people in terms of various parameters, right? Now this becomes a challenge, because everyone wants the road at his doorstep, and there will be a lot of pressure and other thing. NRIDA, which is executing the PMGSY, has never come into this kind of pressure, because we have made very objective system of road selection, whatever be the technology was. So in 2000, there was no GIS, there was no IT, there was no dashboard, there was no Microsoft Power BI. Still, in our operational manual, we made the selection as an objective selection, evidence-based selection, depending upon what all we perceive. Now because of the Gati Shakti, I had the presentation of Gati Shakti last 2-3 days. My IT director is there, Mr. Srivastav. So today we were discussing with the BISEC. Really, I got pleasantly surprised, because I knew all the data is there. When I be planning my road, most of the DPR thing would be seen on the Gati Shakti platform only. Where to place my drainage, where to place my bridge, where to place my small cross drainage structure, where the forest land is coming, and in on my road, how much is the forest land, how much is the private land, and it is whose land, from where to acquire. So how it has become possible all of a sudden that from the Gati Shakti, now I have got rainfall data, I have got the river flow data, I have got the soil type of data, all kind of data. So what I mean to say, when there is a push, in government everything works with push only, जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं डंडा. So क्या हुआ? I'm surprised that Gati Shakti I have been monitoring for last when it was announced, and I was surprised that what they will be doing in Gati Shakti unless they have got the planning tool, analytical tool onto it, and they had the planning, they had it in mind. And what has happened when this push in Hindi mein whatever, so every department shared the data. Otherwise, everybody works in silos. If I ask, one time I asked some tourism ministry, let me see how many tourism places we connected. Freedom fighter villages, the places of interest, the places of sightseeing. I came to know, no, there is no data or something. I'm sure data is there. So it was not shared. We struggled, and I have compiled around 600 places all over the country, deep into the villages, which are connected by the PMGSY road, and has provided now the connectivity for rural tourism to increase.
And there the economy will get boosted. And then we have compiled a rural tourism book, much in the same way as old people knows the Lonely Planet kind of book. I got inspired from that. So, but then had this push been there, like Gati Shakti, I would have got the data. But now, in any case, I'll be having now all the data, we'll be having the data on the Gati Shakti for all kind of planning. So what I'm trying to say, only one thing, we have everything everywhere. Only thing is, as you said, a kind of a centralized website has to be there for a particular kind of parameters and all that, and it should be shown. Then the dilemma of the research scholar like me will get eliminated. Thank you so much, sir.
What it appears is that, as far as PMGSY, NRIDA's work is concerned, it's very well structured, which probably the other areas, it may not be, it may be a challenge to work that way. And particularly as both you gentlemen talked about, you do not have the adequacy of data. Secondly, whatever is available, you are also not about its accuracy. So both are in question. Now, the next question is that, as you said, that most of the departments work in silos. We don't know what the other department is doing. Based on this, when we create a dashboard, so how much of that dashboard should we call a development dashboard to be trusted with the data? The data itself of which we are not sure about the adequacy. Sidhu sir, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think I've already answered that question, that until and unless...
You put a question mark.
Yes.
Now I want an answer.
Yeah. So dashboard is very helpful wherever it may be, wherever you can create a dashboard, and dashboard should be updated on real-time basis. And whenever you can update it. Real time, when I mean, doesn't mean every minute it has to be. Whenever new data comes in, the dashboard should be updated. So that is the real time updation of data dashboard. And the dashboard should be relevant. Again, I would say that the parameters that the dashboard is bringing out, those parameters should be those which are helpful in planning that kind of a thing. If I come back to the link roads that you've been talking, if I experience my, share my experience in Punjab, when you say that PMGSY, so many kilometer roads are to be made in Punjab, so those roads are then distributed among MLAs. Every MLA is given, say, you give them 100 kilometers and they say, okay, every MLA will get 5 kilometers of road. You tell me which road to be constructed. So the MLA decides which road is to be constructed, and no other relevant data is there.
Only but this will not show on the dashboard.
Huh?
This will not come onto the dashboard.
This will not show on the dashboard, one. Second, whatever data we may have, so that data becomes irrelevant. Only data that is there, that which road is important for that particular person who is recommending those 5 kilometers of road. And whatever is recommended by the state government comes to the central government. It gets approved from the central government. Same thing, unfortunately, happens when the roads are even maintained. So maintenance also, it is not that some road was built 7 years ago and should be maintained before some road which was built 5 years ago. Again, the priority is who's the important person deciding that which road should get maintained. And we can talk about anything. I'm talking about labor. I can talk about the labor department. Same thing happens here also. Now we brought in IT intervention in BOCW. We have a dashboard on BOCW. Welfare schemes are applied, registration is applied. Everything shows online. How many applications came in today? How many are pending with the labor inspector? How many are pending with the ALC? How many have come to the head office? How many welfare schemes are there? How many objections were raised? Which inspector is raising more objections than the other? So all that data is there with us, and it displays. I think that's why you chose us for this award also, and it is all displayed. So we have all that data, and we analyze that data. But then, suppose we have to hold a, we have to go somewhere. Some building is being built, and we want to go there and then register those building workers. Again, somebody else decides that where that thing is supposed to happen, and this data becomes irrelevant, at that point of time. So it is fine, it is good. Dashboard should be there. Dashboard is the most important thing. Again, I would, highlight the importance of the data on which that dashboard is built. And if the data is good, the dashboard parameters that you lay and the indicators on the dashboard are good, it is the best thing to happen.
Excellent. Mr. Ojha, you can't afford the same thing because you are in law and order, right? So you are handling prisons. And if your dashboard is not correctly indicating whatever is happening, it's not
my
going to work.
dashboard, but what he's talking about is working in silos, which I agree. I have listened to a presentation on Gati Sakti when I was in Government of India. So I agree, fully agree. What happens if different departments work together and all the data are collected? So if the data is not correctly collected in one department, that gets corrected by the other department's data if it has been correctly collected. So in kind of a way, it balances out. It's a kind of a way, and I agree, Gati Sakti is a wonderful concept, and it has helped quite a lot in deciding and making correct decisions. Even if on the ground in one department you have influences which are not conducive to the development of the country or to the place. For example, the MLA's influence or political influence or corruption influence, then you have maintenance issues which gets reflected, and he doesn't hide if at the top nothing is hidden and gets reflected in the entire data. So in the interoperable criminal justice system, where all are connected, police, prisons, justice department, they all get connected. Then you have data come from all various departments. And so supposing police is doing something wrong, then the court can get it corrected. Or the prison, when it comes to the prison will reflect it, and then the judge will take a call on that. कि भाई आपने लेट क्यों रजिस्टर किया FIR? आपने FIR क्यों रजिस्टर किया लेट? इतने दिन के बाद क्यों हुआ? आपके पास कंप्लेंट तो इस डेट को आई थी. So I agree, fully agree. Even if in police department or in criminal justice system, we need not to work in silos and get interconnected. It always helps. That's my view on this.
Yeah, that point is very well taken, because now we are moving little away from questioning the data. We are now talking about the quality of data, and data to be presented in a correct format so that correct policy making that can take place. But yes, Mr. Sidhu already talked about the ground realities that exist. So that takes me to the next question, which Mr. Ranjan was talking about how to do measurement of qualitative and quantitative data. I'll give you an example. You talked about PMGSY. We also did impact assessment of PMGSY many years ago. So we went to a connected village, and then we went to an unconnected village. The connected village had a road, it had a lorry going on it, it had even a three-wheeler auto rickshaw plying, and people were commuting. And there we saw one bullock cart being taken to a hospital in a truck. So that was the condition of a connected village. Then we went to an unconnected village. None of these things were visible. A bullock cart was stuck in a rivulet with a sick person on it, and 3 people were giving a push, and it was refusing to move. So no one can deny the importance of roads. When we spoke to people, they said, yes, road has brought health care closer to us, road has brought markets closer to us, it has given us access, given our children access to education. Now they can go, they don't have to swim across. So all those kind of things, but our dashboards don't capture it. So even your dashboard will not capture. You will only capture how many kilometers done, how many kilometers remaining to be done, where all you have reached.
What is needed? Indicators.
Precisely. So how do we measure quantitative and qualitative growth? Start with you.
I would like to respond to this. When we are talking about quality of data, so wherever possible, you should introduce the digital technology. That is what the keyword, because particularly in agriculture, whenever there is excessive rainfall and flooding, and then we go for crop compensation, and then we don't have accurate data of what was sown, how much area was affected, on all those things. But now we have satellite images available. we can do drone surveys. So technology should be included while collecting the data, which will be very transparent. Because you know, when you do a physical panchanama, then the tahsildar or any strong political person may be influencing some area, नहीं यहाँ पे ऐसे करना है आपको पंचनामा या ये crops दिखाने हैं. But when you have a technology which can give you a correct and authenticated data, that will help in proper decision making. So this is my...
Yeah, so this is again a good point. Let me take that example a little further. So we were guided in that direction by a well-known economist that, you know, go and collect the data, then we will teach you how to analyze it. We were absolutely unaware. We are socio-economists, we are political scientists people, no background in economics. When we came back, we presented the data that 15 people, for instance, spoken to in one village. Everyone agrees that road is good. 15 people spoken with another village, everyone says, yes, we do not have road, we want it. He said, no, data cannot be analyzed. Why? Because some people have to disagree with the road, that it has brought, you know, choru chakka also to us. You can't analyze. So that's where the data analytics don't really work. So what we need to do is we have to look at the socio-economic aspect and the outcomes of that data based on what people are saying, whether they are saying yes to it, whether they are saying no to it. So this qualitative and quantitative measurement is extremely important for any marker to have a good dashboard. Over to you.
Sir, with your permission, we are missing one thing. There should be a standardization in everything. I will give you a very small example. There is something called urban area, urban sector. For most of the government department, urban means whatever is municipality, whatever urban local bodies, department think this is the urban area. If you go to the power department, what is your urban feeder? They have a totally different. If you are collecting all the data on the dashboard, you will face these problems of non-standard definition used by different departments. He will have totally urban feeder. No, this is urban feeder, this is not urban feeder. If you go to the town and country planning department, you will say, oh, this is the urban area, this is not the urban area. So we need some standardization of how department are collecting, marking and putting the data in the common database. Otherwise, there will be totally hodgepodge and nobody will be able to use it meaningfully.
No, I mean, that's actually leading to the next question. To what extent, when we say we are collecting data at the state level, that data feeds into the national level, because actually everything comes from there. But do we have a district level planning? Do we have district level, district level input of those data points? Are we having those indices when we are going down to the district level, collecting it to see the real impact of our interventions happening at that level? Our dashboards, I do not know. The panelists, you can answer. Are we capturing, are our dashboards capturing it? Sidhu sir, maybe start with you.
See, we are not actually capturing everything. You said we work in silos. Within departments also we work in silos. Now, as I was already saying, there are BOCW workers, there are other workers. Now, Government of India has come up with a very nice scheme. It is called e-Shram. So any informal worker is supposed to get registered with e-Shram. Now, people who are registered in e-Shram are also registered in BOCW, and they may also be registered in the Labor Welfare Board, which is an organized sector in which the workers are working. As of now, we have not been able to, share the same data that how many people who are working in e-Shram across states are already members of BOCW, or how many. Now we are trying to do that. Government of India has taken this initiative. So till now, maybe we have been doing this for the last 10 years, but till now, we have not been able to, know that how many BOCW workers are actually registered with e-Shram, or how many workers who are registered with e-Shram should also get registered with BOCW, and they are not registered with BOCW. So single platform, that's what I already said, for that redundancy of data and all these confusions, can be taken care of. Another thing, one more point I want to, understanding the data is also very important. We have not, talked about it. I'll give you one experience, I'll share one experience of mine. I was in transport department, And the government said there should be resource mobilization, and let's increase the road tax. So when the proposal was made, the proposal said that so many cars, so many trucks, so many buses, so many vehicles get registered in a year, and this is what we are getting at this rate. And if we increase this by 2%, this is what we will get. And it was increased by 2%. Actually, the road tax decreased because the vehicles which were supposed to get registered in Punjab started getting registered in Haryana or Chandigarh, because over there the road tax was less than Punjab. So less number of vehicles got registered. So we didn't understand that data properly. That in case we will increase this by 2%, there will be, incentive for people to go to Chandigarh or to Haryana to get registered at a lesser rate. So understanding data is also very important.
Yeah. Mr. Mandal, how can we have district level indices and what should we measure?
Presently, there is a system, statistical department is working in every state, I think in every state, to accumulate all the data of developmental indicators of a district. But how far it is reliable, that everybody knows. But really, the developmental indicators must be analyzed at micro level. For example, for MSME, I seen during when I was working in MSME department, so many MLS have asked question about how many MSMEs are there in the state. There was no data in the state. Every year they have an answer has been prepared, 5 lakh, 6 lakh, 7 lakh. But when Government of India has introduced the registration system of MSMEs, that is what I don't recall here. Sir? Uddam registration portal started. We told all our district level officers, you start a drive to register all MSMEs in Uddam portal. They have registered, and we decided that from that we will rely on that data only, not other data. If we require all MSMEs are registering their name in the district also in various in PSU, in pollution control board, but all data we left all data and we relied only on Uddam registration. So that has a unique data which has been very reliable data, and that can be trusted in the society. How many MSMEs are now functioning? So many MSMEs have started during 2010, 2008, but now they are not existing. And when we reviewed PMJSY, if we 100 PMJSY beneficiaries are there, after 5 years, if we evaluate them, only 5 to 10% are successful MSMEs. Why? So the reason we concluded at last that the bankers are mostly responsible for that, because they are underfinancing the PMJSY. So how many PMJSY beneficiaries have been underfinanced? That we make a study and found that maximum more than 80% PMJSY beneficiaries have been underfinanced. So where is the problem? That has to be decided at policy level to address the lacunas. That is.
You want to answer?
Yeah. So I think you said about the PMJSY, and Mr. Sidhu also said about the PMJSY that every MLA is given a quota and then he gets his work. So I want to say 2-3 things about it. First of all, when we spend infrastructure, when we spend money on infrastructure, the public money, which is very large, so there has to be ROI in terms of socio-economic livelihood outputs. So what happens that when we go to the Niti Aayog now is started measuring, and they were also measuring output versus outcome results. So in the ministry, there is a person, as you said about the implementation. So there is a person, there is a joint secretary and everybody. So everybody is focused on implementation. So when he's asked, or I am asked about the outcome, we say output and outcomes are same. Sir, we constructed so many roads. So then I'm also the same kind of bureaucrat and engineer, but since these days I'm working little bit academically on research thing, so then I was laughing on ourselves and how the answers were being given. But then the problem is that you cannot ask the same person who is implementing that he will audit himself for the outcome results. And first of all, he will not understand the outcome results. Either he's a bureaucrat or an engineer. He's not a social scientist. Let us understand, as you said about it. Unless this happens, we cannot prove that the scheme, unless the third party, like third party हमारे यहाँ क्या समझते हैं, CAG, CBI and CVC. Well, everything in our country is related with the financial transaction. Because we are a poor country, so we are interested only in the finances. But then we don't talk about why there is no CAG kind of a thing for the social audit outcome results. So what I am suggesting, in every ministry there has to be one vertical who will be examining the outcome result, especially in Ministry of Rural Development. I am sorry if my rural development colleagues are listening, because we are executing, implementing, and we will always be happy. Second thing, as Sidhu Sahab said, I'll be happy that my PMGSY roads are objectively selected and they are good selection and they are not biased. So what is needed here again, that what I am doing is properly communicated to the public. Public includes the bureaucrats and the other, my colleagues also in other department, because in India what happens, that everybody first of all started with suspicion, no, something is happening. It can't be straight. Okay, so the issue is, like in our so many parliamentary committee and standing committee, the public representative, they say, sir, your people come to us for the signature of sanctioning of the road, and sir, they don't listen to our choices. We are forced to sign on what they bring to us. Yes, so why are not? But Sidhu Sahab is saying that then he gets his choice. So now this is the perception. So now he is saying that people brings to me the list of the roads and they say, sir, ये हमारे ranking में आ रहा है, हमारे है ना road की ranking करते हैं, बहुत सारा हमारा analysis होता है. So और हमारे computer में दिखता है, तो कोई उसको influence नहीं कर सकता. Even हमारे मंत्री जी बोल रहे थे कि क्या हमारे पुराने मंत्री जी कहीं भी sanction करा देते थे, अभी आप लोग सब कुछ क्या लेके आए हो, तो ये हम समझ रहे हैं, लेकिन हम communicate शायद नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. अब होता क्या है कि पब्लिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को क्या करना है, आप थोड़ी देर के लिए अपने आप को सोचिए कि आप नेता हैं, आप क्या कहेंगे, मैं गया था 5 रोड सैंक्शन कराया, ये देखो लिस्ट है, लिस्ट तो वो हमारी थी. So he will pretend this, and he is pretending that at least in case of the PMGSY road, 99% selection are because we have got 27 lakh kilometer of rural roads marked on our GIS system that we call DRRP, District Rural Road Plan, 27 lakh kilometer of roads. इंडिया में रूरल रोड जो हैं करीब 55 लाख किलोमीटर ऑफ रोड्स हैं आज की डेट में, अदर देन नेशनल हाईवे. सो रूरल रोड समझ लीजिए 45 लाख किलोमीटर. लेकिन इस 28 लाख किलोमीटर में से हम रैंकिंग निकालते हैं ब्लॉक वाइज और वो करते हैं. अब वो पॉलिटिशियन को तो फिर वोट लेने तो वो तो बोलेगा कि यही रोड मैंने ही सिलेक्ट किए थे. सो एनीवे, सो द पॉइंट इज दैट वी शुड नॉट बी हैप्पी दैट व्हाट आई एम डूइंग is really reflecting correctly. It should be audited by third parties, by the social scientists. Like I will give an example, like you are from IPS police services. RTO is almost like police or what. So गुड़गांव का ले लीजिए. So गुड़गांव की आप RTO वाला खोलिए, because परिवहन ने मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रोड सरफेस ट्रांसपोर्ट ने परिवहन करके वो सब पूरी गाड़ियों का रजिस्ट्रेशन एंड फॉर ट्रांसफर ऑफ ओनरशिप एवरीथिंग दे ब्रॉट ऑन इंटरनेट. So now you open a state site. I did myself. Gurugram ka I have opened. It was very difficult to fill in detail and all that. Once I filled up the detail, I went up to the RTO office with this my red card. Nobody bothers in the state government, no? हो गए कोई भी यार, ढंग के होते तो आते ही क्यों आप?
आते ही क्यों? तो वो रेड कार्ड उसको बॉदर नहीं कर रहा है. When I went there, he said, no, these documents are not complete. अब मैं इंटरनेट पे अप्लाई किया हूँ. He said, no, this document is required. क्या वो क्रिमिनल ब्यूरो? मैंने क्रिमिनल ब्यूरो की कहाँ से आएगी गाड़ी के लिए? He said, sir, this is the form, you fill it up. Where is the form? He was not ready to give. So somebody else helped me in giving me. So then I realized I go to this photostat person and ask him and just give him little more money for photostating and he will do it. I got it done that way only. It should not be done. But the point is that every government department is happy in creating the digital interface and it is not working. I'll give another example. So the issue is that I should not be happy that if the Sidhu Sahab is saying that the road is not getting selected properly, it should be audited. And in every ministry, again I am repeating, for every penny of expenditure, there has to be socio-economic livelihood audit and how it is to be done. If not by the educational institution, then every ministry should have one vertical and one person who would be saying what is the outcome result and what are you saying is matching. So this is what, thank you.
Why have it in the ministry? Why have it in the ministry? Let it be a third party. Let it outside the ministry.
Yeah, outside ministry.
Outside the ministry.
Yeah, let it be outside, but then outside में क्या है, बहुत सारे लोग हैं, नहीं हो पा रहा है, तो आप हर मिनिस्ट्री में बोलो कि इस चीज के लिए one person will be assigned, he will be from social scientist, but he has to be attached there. अब क्या होता है, like SKOCH or like any other social organization, they approaches the government, so we will do social audit.
आप CAG में कर दो ना, आप CAG में social audit कर दो.
CAG का social audit उनका, देखिए जब भी किसी का कुछ कराना है तो उसका माइंडसेट चेंज करना पड़ेगा. वो नोट के आगे सोच नहीं पाएगा,
ये भी
है ना, नोट के आगे नहीं सोच पाएगा, बिकॉज उनके ऑडिटर का माइंडसेट वो है. तो यदि हमें चेंज लाना है, तो हमें यदि किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में चेंज लाना है.
मेरा एक पर्सनल क्वेश्चन है. सर, there's a one personal question. We have two jails coming up, new jails coming up in Mandi and Kullu. उसका रोड जो है, अप्रोच एक्सेस रोड, वो हमें दिया क्योंकि पुलिस वालों को ऐसी जगह देते हैं जहाँ पे कोई और नहीं जाता. तो आई रिक्वेस्टेड डीसी कि भाई आप प्रधानमंत्री ग्रामीण सड़क योजना में व्हाई डोंट यू पुट इट, बिकॉज आफ्टर ऑल इट हैज बीन अलॉटेड बाय द स्टेट एंड वी आर गोइंग टू कंस्ट्रक्ट द जेल, वी नीड अ रोड. देयर इज अ रोड अवेलेबल एंड देयर आर विलेजेस आल्सो व्हिच आर गोइंग टू बी कनेक्टेड, बट वो नहीं हो रहा है. तो इसको कैसे करेंगे आप, ये बताइए सोल्यूशन बताइए.
That is why again very nicely you have said कि there has to be a portal where the public.
अग्रवाल साहब देखिए, मजे की बात ये है कि वो किसी भी डैशबोर्ड पे नहीं आएगा जो उन्होंने बात कही. वो सिर्फ ग्रीन शीट बनेगी और उसके ऊपर चिट्ठी जाएगा, हाशिए पे चार उसके कमेंट्स
बस मैं ये
वापस आ जाएगा.
I have personally talked to the DCs and requested them and I have written, given in writing as well. By these jails are going to be constructed and there's a Supreme Court monitoring because the overcrowding is to be reduced. That is the
इसीलिए सर मैं कह रहा हूँ कि there has to be real kind of dashboard and inputs from the public wherein it comes on to that and then the concerned ministry looks at it rather than on the green sheet.
All departments.
So मैं सर इसका example और बता देता हूँ if you have got just 2 minutes.
1 minute.
So 1 minute. So what we revolutionize the thing, sir, for the maintenance of road. Again, Sidhu Sahab will say about the PMJSY maintenance. So sir, I'll just say कि what we initiated and what we want citizen to see, but then citizen has to be intelligent enough and to be active enough. Maintenance of road. In PMJSY, sir, as you know, and you are awarding for that actually, EMARC. Maintenance of road is to be done for 5 years by the same contractor who constructed it so that he will do a quality job. Right, sir? Now what was happening that we were very happy that performance-based maintenance contract we have inserted into the PMJSY since 2000 and the 5 year it is to be maintained. And now so many things were there which is humanly impossible. Last 3 years, sir, because of the IT, we introduced the IT system wherein now you can see onto the dashboard that the road which was constructed 5 years back, it is in what condition, in which month of the road was kept in what condition, and how much payment in the maintenance was done. So through this EMAG revolution, we paid for last 3 year 3,400 crore across the country for maintenance. Out of that, sir, because of our strict monitoring and compliance to the our standard bid document, we have saved 1,300 crore rupees without any litigation, without any political interference, and without any pressure to the state engineer, because the state engineer says this is NRIDA dashboard and you kindly see. So this performance-based now the citizen can see, now the interface, citizen can see any road and in what condition it was, how much payment was done. Then He has the evidence to complain, one. Second thing, what we have introduced now, even more than that, our engineers gives the marks for the roads, which is performing every month or not, and then the system calculates the payment bill. So it is engineer based. Now what we are doing, we are putting citizen into it. We are making the QR code of every road, sir, which is in road maintenance. Citizen will go and just scan the QR on his mobile. He will take the photograph and put the comments. This will get entangled with my billing system through the artificial intelligence, and this will reduce or increase your bill. So instead, the citizen needs to complain. Like you said, citizen need not to complain, he will become part of the system. Now, this we need to communicate to everyone, that this is there, kindly look at it. So we are trying to educate all the rural population that these kind of things are there. So thank you so much. I have to
excellent. These are valuable inputs.
Everybody is happy in his own silos.
My request again is, why don't we use technology to collect data at the ground level? Why do we depend on human interface? Let's not use humans for collecting data. Let the technology be used, for example, drones as GIS. Property, we are tagging our properties through GIS. I mean, why don't we do that? Instead of that will at least correct that data. Whatever we are collecting is correct and accurate. This is my suggestion.
So we are boiling down to 3-4 conclusions from this. A, that we need to have data which is acceptable, reliable, accurate, and measurable. Because if we have to go back and look at the authenticity of data, that we also should be in a position to do. We have an example of PMGSY, wherein they have done to a great extent, and whatever planning that moving forward needs to be done, you can refer back to Gati Shakti. The genesis of Gati Shakti was in this only, as to how much of infrastructure loss in terms of the GDP that we have already suffered, so that we can prevent it and do a better planning. While it was based on that premise, moving forward in the last 2 years, including you being on the portal and every other scheme of infrastructure scheme, it still doesn't say that which one is moving slow. That is also needs to be reflected in all the databases, in all the dashboards. Because when we say economic markers and development dashboard, we have walked a mile. We should have walked 2 miles. So I'm saying that my achievement is 1 mile. But the glass half empty also should be reflected, that by walking slow, I've missed on that 1 mile, and how much of opportunity loss converted into time, data, as well as the money. How much have we lost? So if we are able to analyze all of that, we will be in a position to do better planning. We also understand there are not enough indicators available at the district level. We need probably to percolate down to that level to find out. It's also a dichotomy that we ourselves in some departments vouch the quality of data, but we do not look at, we only look at quantity, we don't look at the quality of data. Some other departments, they look at both, like the way you are saying, you're claiming, and which is actually true. Otherwise, this we will not have reached this stage. But an area like employment and labor, although as Mr. Sidhu talked about, that we have different kind of employment generated, direct, indirect, formal, informal. 5 people working with me in my household are also employed, but they are not counted employed anywhere. So how do we bring them into the fold? Whom do we count employed? What is the definition of employment?
Is housewife employed?
That's a big question mark. That's a big question. So, these are certain...
Come in GDP at least. Yes, I think so. It should come at least in GDP.
Gender GDP.
GDP, so that we become billion.
Absolutely. So, a lot of the points which are raised are, I think almost all the points which are raised are valid. Some we have answers to, some we do not have answers to. Law and order cannot be compromised. Labor, we are suffering. PMGSY doing well. Agro, you've been able to employ technologies and so on and so forth. And Odisha, they've been able to fix a few problems of whatever they could. So This has been a very good discussion, cross-section of opinion on the table. Although we are 10 minutes behind, but if I can take one or two questions, I would be happy. The panelists would like to answer. They are at your disposal. Any question? Oh, they already have their house full. All right. So thank you very much, gentlemen.